If you're a health coach or fitness coach and you're losing clients after 2 or 3 months, this video is specifically made for you. Because in this video, I'm going to show you exactly why your clients keep quitting and more importantly, how to fix it so they actually end up sticking around for the long term. And here's what's probably happening right now. The process continues like this. You sign a client, they're super excited. The first couple of weeks, they're super engaged. They're tracking their food, showing up to calls. But then around week 3 or 4, you start noticing the cracks. They start missing a day of logging. Then they miss 2 days. And by week 6, they've completely stopped tracking. And by week 8, they end up ghosting your messages and looking for reasons to quit or to cancel. And the frustrating part is, you know that your program works. You've seen it work for other clients, but for some reason, you can't get people to stay consistent long enough to actually see results. So they end up churning out and you're back to finding new clients and the cycle repeats over and over and over again. And the good news is that this isn't a you problem. It's a system problem. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact research that shows why clients quit, what the root cause is, and then I'm going to show you a system that you can implement that removes all of the friction, automates most of the daily accountability, and makes it actually realistic for you to keep clients engaged for 6 months, 9 months, a year, or even longer than that. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, now we're gonna dive into the Miro board here. So let's get into this first block that I've written. So in this video, we're gonna talk about why nutrition coaching clients quit tracking by month 6. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna show you an exact system that you can implement to fix this, remove all of the friction, and basically automate most of it. But first, let's talk about what's actually happening behind the scenes. So the problem. So here's what's actually going on. UCLA did a study with 212 people using MyFitnessPal. By month 1, 97% of them were still actively using it and tracking their food. But if you kind of zoom forward and travel forward in time, by month 6, only 35% were using it. When they asked people why they quit, 84% of them said the same exact thing. It's too tedious. And this is the exact problem that most coaches face. You sign a client, they're super excited. First couple of weeks, they're logging everything. Then week 3 hits, they miss a day. Then they miss 2 days. And by week 6, they've completely stopped tracking. By week 8, they're completely ghosting your messages. And you could see, I actually included a little graph here of this research here. So you could see the trend over time, the declining trend of usage and how people start off super hot. They're using it, they're excited, they think they're gonna start making progress, but then they start to realize that it is way too tedious to do this for every single meal that you're logging throughout the day. And it starts to become more of an annoyance than it is actually helping you push your goals forward. So you could see the declining trend here within this. I believe this is a mouse and whisker plot, but that is besides the point. So the diagnosis here, the important takeaway is here's what most coaches don't realize. The problem isn't necessarily your program. It's not your coaching. It's that you're making tracking optional for the client. When you say try to log your food if you can, or it would be great if you tracked this week, you're basically setting yourself up for churn, and it's very bad for client retention essentially, because here's what the research actually shows. Clients who track daily lose 3 times more weight than clients who track less frequently. Not 10% more, not 20% more, 3 times more. And a study compared daily weighers to people weighing less than daily. Daily weighers lost 9.2 kilograms, less than daily, 3.1 kilograms. And that is a massive difference just by adding that small additional thing. And another systematic review of 22 studies found that tracking frequency alone explains 32% of weight loss results. Not what they track, it is how often they track. So if frequency matters this much, why are coaches making it optional? And this is something that you should be thinking about even when you're kind of digesting the research studies that I'm showing you here. Why is it optional if it makes such an important change and it is such an important lever that you could pull as a coach to get your clients results? So here we're now going to discuss the accountability gap. So here's the real problem. Most coaches do weekly check-ins. You hop on a quick call with your client once a week, review their progress, give them some feedback, and send them on their way. But what happens the other 6 days of the week? Nothing. There's no accountability. Your clients can fall completely off track Monday through Saturday, and you won't know until Sunday's call. And by then, you've already mentally checked out, and the research completely backs up what I'm saying here. When coaching contact frequency decreases, self monitoring drops in parallel. And without ongoing accountability, only 25% of clients continue to track on their own. And this is what I call the 6-day accountability gap. And it's why your clients end up quitting and actually churning within your program. So here you could see the 6-day accountability gap. Monday through Friday, there's nothing. Even Saturday, there's nothing. And then finally on Sunday, there's a quick little check-in. And then that quick little check-in boosts them up for Monday. And then throughout the week, they continue to fall off once again. So this is the accountability gap explained, but the standard that you should be implementing is this. So here's what needs to happen. Professional coaches need to hold themselves to a much higher standard. And that standard is what we call the rule of 30 here at Milton. The rule of 30 means that you get food log data from your clients for a minimum of 30 consecutive days. It is not optional. It is not if they feel like it. It is non-negotiable. At least once per year, you need to get them to track 30 straight days of data. Now, you may be asking, why 30 days? Because research shows that habits take an average of 66 days to form. For other people, it's 18 days. For some people, it's 254 days. It depends on a variety of different things. However, the average is 66 days. So 30 days is the absolute minimum floor to start building. I don't even know how to say this word, automaticity. I think I said that correctly. It's the foundation for long-term behavior change. The coaches who churn clients are the ones making tracking optional. The coaches who retain clients and end up keeping them for a long time are the ones enforcing the rule of 30 in one way or another. You have to demand it from your clients, and you have to make sure that at least once a year they're tracking for 30 days straight. However, as we'll get into, the system I'm going to show you later within this video is actually so simple that they're probably going to end up tracking way more than the minimum of 30. But here is a little graph that should help you kind of visualize this. So here on the x-axis, you have the number of repetitions. So as we move to the right on the x-axis, the number of repetitions is increasing. And as we move upwards on the y-axis, the behavior automaticity is also increasing. So as the number of repetitions increases, so the number of days that your client is tracking, the more automatic the behavior becomes on the y-axis. So within this red range, you are like sort of instilling the habits and kind of wiring them into your neurons. But it does you have to get to this certain threshold here, which, as we've discussed, is different for everyone. However, here at Milton, we make it a minimum of 30 days to help instill this habit into fitness coaching clients, so they could start making this habit automatic. The more automatic it is, the more data a coach has to track, and the better results they could actually achieve for their clients and retain them for a much longer period of time. So you want to be in this green zone, and this is why we stick to the rule of 30. Okay, now we're going to get to the friction problem. Now here's where most coaches get stuck. They want to enforce the rule of 30. They know daily tracking matters, but they can't get their clients to do it because the friction is way too high. I mean, think about what you're asking your clients to do with traditional tracking. You're asking them to open MyFitnessPal, search for every single food item, weigh their portions, manually log every single macro, and this ends up taking about 10 to 15 minutes per meal minimum, because it's super tedious and they have to insert all of this stuff manually. Your clients have jobs, they have kids, they're super busy, and asking them to spend 30 to 45 minutes per day logging food is completely unrealistic. So that is why they all stopped doing it, as the data showed from the UCLA study that I showed earlier. And because they stop, you can't enforce the rule of 30. You can't get the 30 consecutive days of data that you need. So what happens? They end up churning, which is what we have discussed here. So as you could see, this little visual, we have path A and path B. Path A is the high friction tracking route, where week 1, the client logs everything, spending 45 minutes per day. Week 2, the client is still logging, but is getting annoyed. Week 3, the client starts skipping here and there. So for example, they skip logging their lunch because they're just too busy and they don't feel like doing it. By week 4, the client only logs breakfast. Week 5, the client stops completely just because it's super annoying. Week 6, client starts ghosting your messages. Week 8, the client cancels because they don't feel like sticking to your program anymore. It just feels too tedious, and it feels like you're making them essentially do too much work that they feel like they shouldn't have to do because they've hired you. And path B is low friction tracking. So the client logs everything 10 seconds per meal. By week 2, the client is still logging because it's very easy. Week 3, client hits that 21-day streak. Week 4, clients start seeing tangible progress, and they're staying motivated because they're starting to see progress in their logging and also reflected in their physique and starting to achieve their goals. By week 5 to 8, the client continues logging daily. Day 30, rule of 30 complete. And by day 66, the habit is fully formed and you end up retaining the client because you have implemented a system that is so easy to follow that it's frictionless, which we're going to get into here in a second. I haven't showed that yet. The solution. Let's get into the solution now. So how do you remove friction while maintaining the standard? This is where photo-based tracking comes into play. Instead of making your client spend 15 minutes manually logging macros, they take a photo of their meal, it takes 10 seconds long, AI scans and reads the photo, logs it automatically, and ends up giving them instant feedback as well. So there's no need for searching for food, knowing portions, no doing macro math, none of the tedious parts that end up making them quit in the first place. They just snap, submit, and they're done. And on your end, you're not manually reviewing 20 client food logs individually. You have a dashboard where you could see everyone's data at once. You spend 30 minutes in the morning reviewing patterns, flagging issues, sending quick voice notes where needed, and just maintaining general client communication. And suddenly, enforcing the rule of 30 becomes very, very realistic because the friction is gone. Your clients can actually log daily without it taking over their life. You can actually manage 15 to 20 clients without drowning in manual check-ins. And this is how you actually execute the rule of 30 at scale. So what do we mean by photo-based logging? Because some of you may be unfamiliar with this kind of a technology. And here at Milton, we've actually developed a software where here I'm going to kind of display to you how it works. But here in this first image, the client ate 2 pieces of lasagna and then there's 3 garlic knots as well. So what do? You just the client logs into their side of the Milton interface, quickly snaps a photo. Milton ends up analyzing the photo, scanning it, and boom, everything is logged. So as you can see, Milton replies with, your meal is 2 pieces of cheese lasagna with tomato sauce, each approximately 3 by 3 inches baked, and 3 garlic knots baked, brushed with garlic butter. And then it starts analyzing the actual data from the food. So you have 680 calories roughly, 30 grams of protein, 80 grams of carbohydrates, 30 grams of fats, 4 grams of fiber, 0.2 liters of water, and this has all been logged and stored. So as you could see, if you compare this with MyFitnessPal, where they have to think about the food they're eating, start reading the serving sizes and everything on the back of the labels of the food, start manually typing everything in. That just becomes so tedious when you compare it with a new technology like this, where you're able to essentially snap a photo of your food and have everything be done for you in under 10 seconds. And as you could see, you could do this with the labels on the back of the food where something is perhaps more complex. Here, there's just some M&M's candy. Let's say the client had 2 servings. They're able to just snap a picture of this, and Milton has logged it automatically once again. Here we have some kind of like a oatmeal type of thing, and you could also specify things that would be harder for the AI to sort of interpret just from an image. So here we just said there's butter and brown sugar in there. And then based off the image and this little suggestion for the AI, it basically analyzed the food and stored everything once again. And here we have another example with a quick protein bar. Basically, it just reads the label. It assumes that you have eaten the entire thing because most people eat a protein bar in one sitting. Logged it once again. And then here you could also ask for recipe suggestions. So Milton, it understands the client's goals, right? So it understands what they're trying to do, whether that be gain muscle, whether that be trying to gain fat, whatever kind of program that you are actually following and whatever their goals are, you're able to suggest recipes and find out foods that actually align with their goals. So here, this specific client here within Milton, they wanted something that is spicy and Asian that aligns with their goals. And then here, as you can see, Milton went through, referenced their profile and understood the goals that they were trying to achieve, as well as their current nutrition data, and is able to go ahead and actually suggest an entire recipe here, making it very simple for the client to actually go and make this entire recipe and still maintain and be on track with their goals. Now we're going to get into the system and explaining how the system works. So here's how the full system looks like. Day 0, you would have an onboarding call with your client. You would set the expectations and you would say something like, for the first 30 days, you're going to be logging your food daily. This is a non-negotiable and it is how we build results. And the way you would do this is by implementing Milton into your coaching program. So you're giving them this software tool that is customized for yourself as a coach, and you're able to manage all of your clients within the Milton software. Through days 1 through 30, the client logs their food via photo, as we've kind of demonstrated down here. It makes it super easy to do. You just kind of onboard your client within Milton, which takes under 5 minutes, and then you give them access to this technology where they're able to snap photos of the actual food, and then it is able to log everything automatically, making it completely frictionless. And it takes 10 seconds per meal, as we described. AI gives instant feedback. You review their data every single morning in 5 minutes per client. And you have a weekly strategy call to adjust the macros and troubleshoot anything that could be going wrong so they could start seeing more and more progress with what they're doing. By day 30, the rule of 30 that we have established earlier in this video is hit. The milestone is hit. The habits start to form. The client starts seeing progress, and you have baseline data to work with. Through days 31 to 66, you are solidifying the habit even further, and you are making your coaching program sticky. So that's what you have to understand here. When you give them a software tool like Milton, you as the coach are giving them a tool that is frictionless and is very easy to use, super simple interface, and it is making it very easy for them to achieve their goals. So it is very hard to leave a software system like this, and it increases the perceived value of your coaching program as well. And you need less intervention on your side as a coach, and the habit becomes automatic through days 31 through 66 when you really start solidifying the habit. And beyond day 66, the habit starts to fully form. The client self-manages with weekly check-ins. You focus on the strategy and not tracking enforcement any longer. And the result here is that the client is retained long-term. You have managed to keep them long-term because the system is so frictionless and easy to use. And this is exactly what Milton was built to do. It is a photo-based tracking app. It has AI daily check-ins, the coach dashboard to manage multiple clients, the rule of 30 enforcement built in, and you hold the standard, and Milton makes it very easy for your clients to meet it. So you as the coach set the expectations within the Milton system, and then it is your client's job then to quickly snap photos of whatever they're eating and basically like stay consistent with all their goals within the actual interface. And I actually included a quick little screenshot of the Milton dashboard within here, where the clients or the coach are able to ask a question. So if the client has a question about a specific food and how it's going to impact their goals, they could simply hit this button and ask it. And on the coaching side, you're able to essentially see all of your clients, what they're doing, keep up with all of their data tracking, food logging, all of that stuff. And it is very simple. As you can see, this interface, I believe this is the client side here, where you're able to see the amount of calories they ate, the amount of protein and their goal, the amount of carbohydrates and their goal. And it just makes it super easy for both the client and then you as a coach to manage 10, 15, 20, 30 clients, however many clients you may need, and it makes it super easy just because you have everything displayed in this nice, clean dashboard. And the proof of why this system works, which we're going to get into here, is because real world data backs it up. Regular gyms with minimal coaching retain 60 to 66% of members. That is a 34 to 40% annual churn rate. And if we then move to personal training studios with high touch coaching, they end up retaining 80% of their clients, which is a 20% churn rate. And now if we go even further up the ladder and we push to studios with strong daily accountability systems, they retained 95% of their clients, which is less than 5% of churn. And you may be asking, what is the difference between these three? It is simply the frequency of touch points and how personalized it is for the actual client. The coaches crushing retention are the ones enforcing daily accountability, and Milton is the tool that makes it possible without burning you out. So as you can see, this little visual here displays the actual data that I've showed you here above. So in conclusion, if you're tired of losing clients after every 2 to 3 months, the fix or solution to this is very, very simple. Stop making tracking optional and start enforcing the rule of 30. You have to start instilling habits and installing frictionless systems for your clients so they're able to do all of this effortlessly and so they want to stay with you. You have to use a system that removes the friction so your clients can actually do it. And that's exactly what Milton does. It integrates photo-based logging, AI daily check-ins, coaching dashboards, and it is built for the rule of 30 so you're able to retain your clients and stop them from churning out. So if you are interested in integrating this into your health coaching or fitness coaching practice, you could visit getmilton.com, and there's a lot more information on that page displaying how the actual system works, as well as some client testimonials as well. So go ahead and check out getmilton.com if you are interested in installing a system like this into your coaching practice. And as always, professional coaches demand data, and Milton makes it easy to deliver. So hopefully you guys have found this video helpful, me breaking down the entire system from start to finish, explaining the problem, explaining the research, explaining how all of this sort of ties together. But if you are actually interested in implementing this frictionless system within your practice, visit the first link in the description of this video here, and that should directly take you to the page with all of the proper information to help get you started and actually situated to help start installing these frictionless systems into your practice and obviously help you start retaining clients much longer. So without further ado, that'll be the end of this video.